Hey everyone, it's Marianne from the New York City Organization of Public Service Retirees. I want to review an article with you that came out in Work Bites Labor magazine, and it was an interview that was conducted between Joe Maniscalco and reporter and Gloria Middleton from CWA Local 1180. So I'm going to share my screen with you so you can see the article, and then I'm going to be flipping between the article and some documents to fact check, cite, and source all of the misinformation that is coming out of Gloria, which is very concerning because not only is she president of CWA Local 1180, she is also treasurer of the Municipal Labor Committee. And if she doesn't understand where all of the money is going, the MLC has a bigger problem. So I want to show you this article by Work Bites Labor magazine. It is by Joe Maniscalco, and the title is, "If I hear the damn stabilization fund one more time, I'm going to scream." And I am going to scream because I'm tired of hearing that it's the only way out of their mess that they created, right? So great photo, Joe. That's awesome. So here we're going to get into the misinformation. So it says Pizzatola was reacting to CWA Local 1180 president and the MLC trustee. I think she's the treasurer now. Gloria Middleton's recent assertion that COVID depleted the New York Health Stabilization Fund, thereby ostensibly leaving privatization and Medicare Advantage the only viable way for the city of New York to cover healthcare costs of its municipal retirees. This is Gloria now speaking. We had a stabilization fund that we could still pull money out of to pay for the healthcare plan, Middleton told Work Bites, and because of rising costs of healthcare. It's because of the rising cost of retirees that certainly left the workforce after the pandemic. It could not be sustained. Gloria, you couldn't be more wrong. Let me explain something. A Medicare eligible retiree is the least expensive to the city of New York. You, my dear, as an active worker, are the most expensive. Your individual plan for a single person is about $950 a month, and your active worker family plan is about $2,500. Do you know how much a Medicare eligible costs? About $365 a month. And I'm also going to tell you that the premium for Medicare eligible retirees hasn't increased dramatically, and it doesn't come out of the stabilization fund premium at all. So we'll get to that. She says, as a result, Middleton continued, the MLC sat down with the city to see what we could come up with that with the amenable to making sure that our retirees could have a healthcare plan that they didn't have to pay a premium for. Well, dear, I could give you a garbage plan that doesn't provide great benefits for free, but clearly that's what you guys try to force down our throats, and that's why we were fighting you. This money doesn't grow on trees, okay? We have to make sure the money is in the city budget to pay for the retirees, Middleton added. We used to have the stabilization fund to do that. That money's gone. Again, wrong answer. Our money comes directly from Medicare eligibles, comes out of the city budget directly. You as the active worker, do you know why your healthcare plan comes out of the stabilization fund? Actually, the difference between the benchmark of the HiP HMO rate and the plan most of you choose, the GHI plan, comes out of the stabilization fund. Otherwise, the city budget has all of our healthcare in there, all of the premium. The only thing that comes out of the stabilization fund is the difference between the HiP HMO rate and the GHI rate that most of you choose. That premium difference, if it didn't come out of the stabilization fund, it would come out of your pocket. For an individual, you're looking at about $15 a month, and for a family plan, you're looking at about $250 a month. That stabilization fund that the Municipal Labor Committee allowed to be misused is why you're in this trouble. As well as also you reducing the HIP rate by suppressing it in your 14 and 18 agreements, and by allowing the city to use that money and the teachers union to use that money for collective bargaining or filling budget gaps. That is directly on the MLC, Gloria, not a Medicare eligible retiree. So you say, let's see, they allowed it to bankrupt. So this is me talking. They allowed it to bankrupt because of their own bad decisions, Pizzatola told Work Bites, even after the Office of Labor Relations' own letter on OLR's website says that they didn't need Medicare Advantage to meet the savings benchmark. They needed it to finance the stabilization fund, which doesn't pay for Medicare-eligible retirees' health premium. So it allows Gloria to stay premium-free. It allows the city council and the mayor to stay premium-free because you sold off grandma and grandpa. Basically, what they wanted to do when I say they, the Municipal Labor Committee in the city, sell off retirees' healthcare, because we even have a video of Michael Mulgrew and Henry Garrido saying the city said, if you give us that money, if you put those retirees onto Medicare Advantage, you give us back that 20% plan, because our supplemental that the city provides is a 20% coverage plan. You give us back that 20% and we'll give you that money we would have spent on them. And you did. I also tell her in this article that they allowed this to happen. He writes, the EMS retiree further added that if the 2014 and 18 agreements didn't permit the teachers to take $1 billion out of the health fund, and they didn't further the quid pro quo to that 2014 agreement, they might have money in there to pay for their health fund. And what does that mean? So, Middleton, however, dismisses that assessment. That's a falsehood. Let me just say that, she told Work Bites. That's not true at all. I'm going to show you exactly it is true. Let's go first to the UFT 2014 MOU. And you can see this is signed by Michael Mulgrew and Robert Lynn. And in this contract, they show the healthcare sellout. That the UFT and the Department of Education agree that the UFT will exercise its best efforts to have the MLC agree to the following. And this is where you agreed to reducing healthcare costs, $400 million, $700 million, $1 billion, $1.3 billion. And how did they do that? Suppressing the HIP rate, adding copays, narrowing your networks, prior authorizations. They delay and deny you care. They're coming up with savings to get you a raise, and you don't even realize that they're doing it to you. Here, number 8, the Stabilization Fund. Effective July 1 of 2014, the Stabilization Fund shall convey $1 billion to the City of New York to be used in support of the pro rata funding of this agreement. This is the teacher's contract. This was commenced to pay for that year's round of bargaining for the teacher's contract. So when I said to the UFOA attorney or the MLC attorney, Harry Greenberg, that the teachers got a benefit out of this agreement, they sure did. So commencing on July 1 of 2014, $200 million from the Stabilization Fund shall be made payable every year for ongoing programs, such as the $65 welfare fund contribution, PICA payments for budget relief. You're using Stabilization Fund money for things that it shouldn't be used for. So what is the $65 welfare fund contributions? That allowed, if by ratifying this agreement, every union in the MLC could get an additional $65 per member and retiree per year to be deposited into their welfare fund, as long as they would agree with it. This is the quid pro quo. You give me $1 billion, Michael Mulgrew told the MLC, so I could pay for my teacher raises, and I'll give you $65 a year for all of your employees and retirees to put into your welfare fund. You scratch my back, I scratch yours. You let me do this, even though it's not allowed or not supposed to be used this way, I'll give this to you. That's why we call it a quid pro quo. So the other concerning part is that if any part of this was not approved, then there would be issues in the contract, because ultimately they would have had to renegotiate the contract or paid that money back. So this becomes an issue. So this is one agreement. So you could see how the teacher's contract definitely benefited from this. If that wasn't bad enough, DC 37 did the same thing. So you can see this is signed by Henry Garrido. This is the 2018 agreement. And this is directly off of OLR's website, just so you know. I will bring it back up top. 2017 to 2021 MOA, District Council 37, okay? So this is their wage increases, health savings and welfare fund contributions. The May 5th, 2014 letter of agreement regarding health savings and welfare fund contributions between the City of New York and the MLC will be attached as an appendix and deemed to be part of the 17 to 21 DC 37 MOA. DC 37 and the city agree that the DC 37 will exercise its best efforts to have the MLC adopt an agreement for health savings and welfare fund contributions over and above the May 5th, 2014 agreement. The savings shall be in the following amounts: 200 million for 19, 300 million for 20, and 600 million recurring for 21. The parties agree that the above savings to be achieved on a citywide basis are a material term of this agreement. This is the DC 37 agreement. The DC 37 did what the UFT did, is negotiate a contract to be funded on the backs of all the other union workers and now the retirees. In the event that the MLC does not agree to the citywide savings targets, all terms and conditions of this agreement shall be renegotiated by the parties. Both DC 37 and the UFT negotiated their contracts on the backs of other unions. And you guys didn't even know that you did this. The parties agree to form a joint labor management committee to revisit the plan design of the DC 37 Med team pursuant to the October 31, 1984 letter of agreement between the parties. The goal of such committee shall be to mutually agree upon plan changes, which will create an efficient and effective health insurance plan, which is less expensive than the HiP plan, while providing superior service to DC 37 members. Now explain something. How do you reduce coverage and reduce cost and still provide a good plan? Because you're definitely reducing benefits to somebody, Henry. And you guys don't even realize. Effective April 26th of 2021, there shall be a recurring $50 per year per employee, active and retiree, increase to the welfare fund contributions. You sold off healthcare for welfare fund contributions, Henry. This is DC 37's agreement. And it sets the terms of how much the savings are supposed to be on an annual basis. In any event, the $600 million pursuant to Article 1A4 must be recurring and agreed to by the parties within the fiscal 2021 year and may not be borrowed from other years. Again, consistent with all the other documents that I'm showing you. After the conclusion of fiscal year 21, the parties shall calculate the savings realized during the 3-year period. In the event that the MLC has generated more than $600 million in recurrent savings, as agreed upon by the city and the MLC actuary, such savings shall be utilized as follows. The first $68 million will be used to make a $100 per member per year increase to welfare funds, active and retired, effective July 1 of 2021. If a savings amount over $600 million, but less than $668 million is achieved, the $100 per member per year active will be prorated. Any savings thereafter will be split equally between the city and the MLC and applied in a manner agreed to the parties. They weren't even putting whatever monies that they were made in excess, if they had saved in excess, back towards healthcare, because that should have been stipulated. Also, this $100 plus that $65 from the other contract is your $165. Remember that figure because it's going to come up again. Here, it will show you that they had mentioned 8 different ways that they could save money. Self-insurance, consolidated drug purchasing. There was all these different ideas that they could do. This document is on our website on nycretirees.org. This is the 2018 agreement. There was no reason why they had to do this. They did this specifically to finance the stabilization fund. Now, I also want to counter what Gloria was saying about the stabilization fund, because she seems to think that it's being used for things that it's not. So I want to show her. Let's go down to about 2015. And for those that are good in math, this here is the Health Insurance Stabilization Fund fiscal year 2015. Okay, so balance starting June 30th of 2014. This shows you what this fund, this stabilization fund opened at. This shows you the money that this fund brought in. Now, there's premium refunds from Cobra. This is your Cobra premiums. PICA rebates. This is your drug plan rebates that for those special drugs for psychotropic, injectable, cancer, asthma, which I believe at this point they were still only doing injectable and cancer. And then these here are medical. So Blue Cross basic final settlement. These are the differences between what the plans paid out and what they were due. GHI also their basic interim settlement. Now, if you look at these figures, this $28 million, $35 million, this is not a lot of money in the grand scheme of things. When you talk about 1.2 million people, these are offsets for the fund. City contribution, this is what the city puts in, is $17.5 million. This is the second contribution. Why? Because they're only negotiated to put in $35 million a year. This has been going on for decades. This amount of money, this $17.5 million twice a year, should have been increased over the years, has never been done. So this will tell you what comes back into the fund as in cost, as in rebates or overpayments, and this is what's income into this account. So $371 million was deposited into this account. Now let's look at what it pays out. So the PICA drug plan in this 1 year, 15, was $33 million. Healthline, $9 million. Nice Grow, $888,000. GHI Home Care, other expenses, and they don't list what other is. But it's still minimal. It's $249,000. This has HiP mental health study is subsidy is $0. Reimbursement for the $65 union welfare fund payments. Here's that first $65. That's $35 million, $35.5 million. Line of duty survivors welfare fund contributions. This is what pays for your line of duty survivors, is your widows. Based on the 2009 health benefits agreement savings, this is another healthcare savings agreement. They pay the city $112 million a year. Transfers to GHI for minimum premium catalyst account. This is your savings. That's $100 million. Here you go. 2015 funds transfer second installment. Remember we said this, that the UFT contract had to convey to the city $1 billion to offset that years of collective bargaining. Here's your $1 billion. So Gloria, where in here do you see as an expense for retiree healthcare? It's not here. Where do you see for COVID in here, my dear? It's not here. Okay. This is 15. I know you're saying, but this is more recent. There wasn't COVID in 15. All right, let's go back to fiscal year 23. Again, you see the income coming in is $35 million coming into this account. You see some refunds. Now let's look at costs. Do you see anything crazy in here that would show costs? Here's your Weight Watchers program, your Teledoc, which I don't know why we're spending money on that. You have $11 million on PICA. You have the PICA plan. You have also the diabetes management program. Here's again, 6 reimbursements for the $65 union welfare fund. I'm not seeing what you're saying, Gloria. There's nothing in here that talks about what you're talking about. Now, if you want to keep going through it, these are your short-term accounts. Here's your revenue. Your refunds, settlement in the EpiPen, marketing, sales practice, antitrust litigation. So you got a little bit of cash infusion from a lawsuit. That was probably a national thing. Some rebates from Express Scripts. Here's your expenses. Welfare funds, diabetes management program, $768,000. Empire Blue Cross Managed Care contract, GHI Home Care, HiP mental health subsidy. This should all have been negotiated into your healthcare plan, not coming out of stabilization, but you negotiated that to come out of here as to save the city money. So you basically bankrupt yourself by not building that into your health plan. Here's PICA, $122 million. Teledoc, Weight Watchers program, other expenses. PICA consulting for Siegel. So you're paying an attorney almost $1 million for consulting services. So now after looking at all of those documents, I think we've proven our point. The UFT and the DC 37 contracts both require that their raises, their contracts were negotiated on the backs of other unions. By allowing that quid pro quo from the MLC, it required that they give $1 billion to the city of New York in 2014. In order to get all the other unions to agree to taking the money out of the fund like that, they allowed the unions to take $165 a year out of that fund. You didn't see COVID. You didn't see retiree healthcare being expensive. Now I want to talk to you about one more document. This is called a Cobra sheet. This document is on the Office of Labor Relations website, and it will generally show you the cost of healthcare plans if you had to pay for them. Now, here you see Medicare eligible plans for Cobra rates. You will see GHI Senior Care, which is the Medicare eligible plan that pays the 20% of healthcare that Medicare does not pay. Medicare pays the first 80. Our city plan for Medicare eligible pays the last 20%. Our plan costs $200 a month, okay? Remember, a Cobra rate is 102% of the premium. This, if you take out your 2%, is roughly about $200, $204 a month. So let's just say $200. Now, if you look here on the non-Medicare side, most people are in the GHI, Blue Cross Blue Shield, CBP Blue Cross Blue Shield plan. This plan right here is $1,031 a person, individual, and $2,700 family. I want you to know that your plans right here, as you could see this in black and white, are more expensive than a Medicare eligible. So to be saying to a senior that served your city, served your union, built this city, rebuilt this city, built your union, that their cost is too expensive and you have to dump them, that's not true. Now, if you want to say, okay, well, what about your Medicare costs? The Medicare cost is $165 a month. When Medicare first started, that plan cost $3 a month. Today, it's $165. Our costs are not rising exponentially. That's the cost of Medicare B. Our senior care rate in 1997 was $88. Today, it's $208. Still not rising exponentially. However, what is rising is active worker plans and active worker family plans. I think, again, we proved exactly to you that we've been telling you the truth the entire time. So to the active worker who's listening to this, understand something. You want to protect your future because when you retire, the money that you're making today, you will not have. Your pension will be about half of what you are making taxable. Today, you as the active worker, while you struggle yourself to pay for things and your kids and babysitting and food and groceries and utilities and fuel and whatever, you still have more money than a current retired worker. And you should be protecting your future. You should also be standing against your union from minimizing your health care, because when you're older, that's the only thing you've got left. And you need your health insurance to make sure that you stay alive. And putting retirees through fighting for their life, for their health care, is criminal. Especially that we have to fight our own unions for something we already earned. This is why it's critical that you maintain your health care. You don't allow it to be diminished, and you don't pass on costs to those already retired. Because what the picture is that you don't have is one day you will be retired. You will be us. And it's not going to look like what you have today. You are going to lose your health. You're going to lose your ability to drive and get to places, and you will be reliant upon services and other people. You are also going to lose half your income. And that is going to be a struggle. Because once you retire, your pension is less than about half of what you're making taxable. You're not going to have the money that you have. Protect your future. Do what you can do now. Watch what your unions are doing, because they should not be negotiating away or diminishing your health care. And these savings agreements, no one should be doing a savings agreement to diminish healthcare to save the city money. Right now, they're renegotiating the active worker healthcare plan, and your unions agreed to reducing healthcare costs by 10%. That's well over $1 billion. And they can't just do that by asking nicely for a cheaper rate. They are going to do that by diminishing your services, adding more prior authorizations to delay and deny access care to you, put you through a grievance procedure in order to appeal those denials of care, narrowing the networks of which providers you can see and which you can't, and tiering hospitals so that you end up paying a higher co-share, co-insurance, copay to a hospital that they put on a tier. That if you see an HHC hospital, you pay nothing, but if you see Montefiore or New York Presbyterian, you might pay $50 or $150 or $300 every time you go, to deter you from going there. Don't do that. Protect your future and hold your unions accountable. I hope you listen, because clearly, Mrs. Middleton, who's the president of CWA 1180 and treasurer for the Municipal Labor Committee, doesn't even understand what the heck comes out of the stabilization fund and how it runs. And that Medicare eligible retirees are your most vulnerable population, your seniors and your disabled. And yet we cost the city the least. And yet premium, other than the difference between GHI and senior care, premium comes out of the city budget. And Medicare eligible retirees is completely in the city budget. We didn't bankrupt the stabilization fund. There's still $1 billion in it today. Have a great day, everybody. We'll take your questions below. If you need another document, you'll find them on our website.